Today is my maiden speech, which I'm really looking forward to, and I'm actually quite nervous about. I understand that I'm the youngest member of the House of Lords. I'm also the first Muslim woman of Pakistani origin to be in the House of Lords. I'm the first Muslim woman from the Conservatives to be in the House of Lords. And I'm also the first Muslim to be in the cabinet or shadow cabinet of any political party in the history of our country, Britain. I suppose in many ways I'm quite surprised that I find myself in the House of Lords. I probably always thought that I would end up with a seat in the House of Commons and a career in the Commons, but it's such a wonderful place and people are terribly polite but extremely knowledgeable, so it is a little bit nerve-wracking because you're surrounded by people who've been secretaries of state and past governments, and they're sat on your back benches, so you look behind and realise just how much you have to learn. I hope that today I can make some really serious points about a subject that I'm really passionate about. I'm going to be talking about the charity Savera Foundation that I chair, and about how ordinary women in Afghanistan live their lives. But I also hope that I can get through today by using the right language, by not making a fool of myself, by not tripping up when I go into the chamber, and by not dropping my papers halfway through my speech. Right, it's time, so I'm just going to be off and hopefully I'll speak when I get out.
My lords, I hope you will indulge me as I rise to make my maiden speech in your lordship's house. I was given two pieces of advice about today. I was told first to ensure I use language most appropriate for your lordship's house. May I remind your lordships that as the daughter of Pakistani immigrants, English was an unknown language to me until I went to nursery school, but today I will certainly try. And secondly, I was told to remain non-controversial. My lords, for those to whom I am known, they will know that on this rule I will have to try much harder. My lords, I am the latest of a long line of women that my hometown Dewsbury has contributed to this house. The noble Baroness Lady Taylor, whom, my lords, I must confess I had hoped 2 years ago to replace in another place. The noble Baroness Lady Boothroyd, who as the Speaker of the other place had a distinguished career and whose father, like my father, was a weaver in the textile mills of Yorkshire. And of course, my lords, the noble Baroness Lady Lockwood, whose contribution to this House as Deputy Speaker must be truly acknowledged, as must her tireless campaigning on women's issues. And my lords, it is the plight of women in today's Afghanistan that I would wish to highlight. In June 2001, Saira Shah, a British journalist, revealed the horrific lives of many ordinary Afghani women. She was assisted in her efforts by RAWA, the Revolutionary Association of the Women of Afghanistan. She exposed an Afghanistan where women were excluded from jobs and medical care, where education was denied and war widows were forced to beg on the streets of Kabul. This was Afghanistan under Taliban rule. In 2007, some 6 years on following our invasion, RAWA on International Women's Day said, "The world came into motion in the name of liberating Afghan women, and our country was invaded. But the sorrows and deprivation of Afghan women has not just failed to reduce, but has actually increased the level of oppression and brutality." My lords, UNIFEM, Amnesty and Human Rights Watch have many statistics. I'll share some of them here. 86% of Afghani women are illiterate. 87% of the Afghan population still believe a woman needs male authorization to vote. 1 woman dies every 29 minutes in childbirth. 50,000 war widows live in Kabul alone, and yes, many still beg on the streets. The number of girls in secondary school is decreasing. 80% of women face forced marriages. Nearly 60% are married before the legal age of 16, and this despite the 2005 protocol to eliminate child and forced marriages by 2008. My lords, sadly this honourable aim is unlikely to be met by then or any time in the near future. I acknowledge that some progress has been made. We know that 27% of the National Assembly are women. but only one serves in the cabinet, and sadly too many are ineffective and subdued. Indeed, in recent provincial council elections, not enough women came forward to take up the women's quota, resulting in some of the reserved women's seats reverting back to men. But I must, my lords, pay tribute to Malala Joa, a brave and determined young Afghani parliamentarian who more than deserves the international accolades that follow her, but whose life is sadly under constant threat. My lords, Amnesty International writes that women continue to face severe violence both within and outside the house, abduction and rape is widespread, and officials are killed merely for registering women to vote. But an extremely disturbing phenomenon is the ever-increasing number of Afghan women who seek death by fire. Women who either are set alight or set themselves alight in sheer desperation. In the last year alone, cases of self-immolation have doubled in Kabul, and the situation is even more acute in the city of Herat. Human Rights Watch believe that contributing factors are severe governmental and social discrimination, illiteracy, and an incompetent justice system. My lords, the pictures alone do not describe the plight of these women. It is a subject close to my heart, and one of which I have direct experience. I chair a women's empowerment charity called the Sayeeda Foundation. It seeks to empower women in Pakistan through education and training. I sadly meet many abused and desperate women, but one in particular remains vivid in my mind. Alia, a beautiful 21-year-old, a loving mother of 2. She was set alight by her husband in her home in the Patwar region of Punjab. She presented herself to me with severe burns and disfigurement from her scalp to her waist, a woman whose children fear her because of her appearance, a young woman who simply longs to hug her young son. My lords, whenever we go to war, we must ensure that our actions leave women safer and stronger, and ensure that never again do we allow women to be abused on our watch in a country that we have invaded to make better. My lords, let me end by thanking my noble friends Baroness Morris and the noble Lord Strathclyde, who have been far more than supporters, but consistently good-humoured despite my constant questioning. I thank noble lords from all sides of the House for their very warm welcome and constant offers of tea, far too many of which I have had to decline reluctantly in the interests of my growing waistline. And finally, I would like to thank those who serve your Lordship's House, many of whom have accompanied me whilst lost in the numerous corridors of your Lordship's House, but always smile when they realise that I am the newest and youngest member of your Lordship's House and not an intern.
It was amazing. She talked about the plight of women in Afghanistan. It was a short speech. It probably made me quite emotional. She talked from the bottom of her heart. She talked as only a girl can do, and I really feel that she touched the hearts of the House of Lords.
It's amazing and it's wonderful. She has researched it very well. I'm very proud of her.
It was exciting. It was amazing to be sat next to Lord Lamont, being praised by him afterwards. Very nerve-wracking before I stood up, but once I'd stood up, it was absolutely fantastic. It flowed really naturally, and you felt a willingness on everybody's part to make you feel welcome and wanting you to do well. For me, this was such an important debate. It was something so close to my heart, and therefore I think there was a lot of passion in this when I said what I said. And I had lots of notes being passed to me whilst I was still sitting in the chamber. People had left me notes which the attendants were bringing in, and a lot of people felt that said they felt quite moved by what I'd said, and I think it's because I said it from the heart.
Whether or not any future speeches will ever go like that, I'm not sure. It depends on how passionate I am about the subject that I speak about.
Really good, Sayeeda.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I think the Conservatives get everything wrong except one or two of the brilliant people they bring in, and that woman is special.